Seattle Times writes, Zealot looks at the age Jesus lived in to expand what's known about this historic figure. The name of the book is Zealot. The guy who has written it, in no way controversial. There's no controversy attached to this at all in the mainstream media, which is strange because at first the media failed to point out that Reza Aslan, even though he has the same name as the lion, has nothing to do with the character portrayed by the lion. He's a Muslim. Now, Muslims have every right to write a book about Jesus. Every right. Although it's strange because Christians in the Muslim world don't really have a right to write about the Prophet Muhammad without being put on a fatwa and killed. But we're not Muslim extremists. So you have every right to write a book. However, when he goes on NPR and says, I'm a follower of Jesus, what does that mean exactly? I'm a follower of Jesus. He views Jesus not the Son of God. That's not really a follower of Jesus. You might think Jesus did some good safety tips. Maybe.
Mm-hmm. Said some nice things to people, about people.
Or you could just say, I study Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's the case, if that's the way we're going to define followers, then I am a follower of George Soros and the president. I'm a follower of no. Zealot is the latest in the progressive attempt to rewrite history. And nobody is, the amazing thing is, it's working. It's working. And why is it working? Pat and I talked about this the other day. We were in San Diego yesterday where gas is $4.11 a gallon. $4.11 a gallon. Where's the outrage in the streets? Where people are sitting around talking about it at the water coolers. Nobody's talking about it at the water coolers. First of all, water coolers don't really exist anymore. Where are people? Not the way they used to in the 1950s, Jeffy. Don't give me that look.
We have one right across the hall.
You know what that is? That is actually just a disguise. We try to take that water and we try to drop it on your head from the second floor when you're walking in the hallway.
Never mind.
Nobody's talking about it, the gas prices, because the media is not talking about it. The media is not saying, see, it's some sort of Republican cabal. It's some sort of deal the president has made with the oil companies. They're in bed with Saudi Arabia, Nothing's changed. Except the media. And the price of gas is now double what it was when they were outraged by it. So we can say whatever we want about the media. But honestly, let's be frank. We're sheep. We're absolute sheep. If the government gives us an easy way out of our problems, we take it. If the media decides to make it an issue, it's an issue. If they decide it's not an issue, it's not an issue with us. Now, that's not universally speaking. There's a lot of people, but generally speaking, on the population. Otherwise, when gas was $2.70 a gallon, and it was the worst thing that's ever happened to the country and going to destroy this fragile economy, why isn't anybody saying anything when gas is $4.11 a gallon?
You can't even imagine a time where gas was $1.80 a gallon again, as it was when Bush left office.
No,
you can't imagine it being that. It would seem almost free at that point.
And that was the biggest thing ever.
Yeah.
Why is gas $1.80 a gallon? It's $4.11 a gallon. Okay. You tell me what people would say if there was a book that was discrediting the Prophet Muhammad. What would the media be saying to a Christian that was saying he wasn't a prophet? He was just a guy who was a radical. That's what he was.
How about questioning the divinity of Allah? I mean,
imagine.
Can you imagine that?
Imagine that. And if it was a Christian, wouldn't it be the number one question? Well, you're a Christian. They would discredit Christians. And they would be coming out and again saying all of these Christian zealots, they're phobic about Islam. Another Islamophobe with another book. That's what they'd be saying. But let's not distract. It's not that he's a Muslim. It's the fact that he's a liar and a progressive. Tonight, we're going to do a half hour on this guy that you don't want to miss. Facts on this man that the media is not going to give you. And when you hear it, you'll ask, why? Why haven't I heard that? He's a scholar of religions with 4 degrees.
And you should hear him talk about that. Oh, we should play some of the interview. Yeah.
Play it.
Here's some of the interview that he did on Fox.
Okay. Well, this is an interesting book. Now, I want to clarify, you're a Muslim, so why did you write a book about the founder of Christianity?
Well, to be clear, I am a scholar of religions with 4 degrees, including one in the New Testament and fluency in biblical Greek, who has been studying the origins of Christianity for 2 decades, who also just happens to be a Muslim.
Listen how indignant he is. Well, to be clear.
Yeah, now listen, there's more. Listen.
So it's not that I'm just some Muslim writing about Jesus. I am an expert with a PhD in the history of religions.
4 degrees.
But I have been obsessed with Jesus.
Though, it still begs the question, why would you be interested in the founder of Christianity?
Because it's my job as an academic. I am a professor of religion, including the New Testament. That's what I do for a living, actually.
Is it?
So,
Listen,
I mean, it would be like asking a Christian why they would write a book about, Islam. I'm not sure about that. But honestly, I've been obsessed with Jesus for really 20 years. I've been studying his life and his work and the origins of Christianity, both in an academic environment and in a personal level for about 2 decades. And just to be clear, this is not an attack on Christianity. My mother is a Christian. My wife is a Christian. My brother-in-law is an evangelical pastor. Anyone who thinks that this book is an attack on Christianity has not read it yet.
I want to read you some quotes from some
Okay, hang on. You don't have the right quote. The next quote, he says, "To be clear, I want to emphasize one more time, I'm a historian."
Yeah, it's coming up
with a PhD in the histories of religion. That's what I do for a living. Okay, he has 4 degrees, and here they are. 1995, he got a BA in religion from Santa Clara University. 1995, Master of Theological Studies from Harvard. Then in 2002, he got his next degree, Master of Fine Arts in Fiction from the University of Iowa. And then in 2009, he got his only PhD. He's a PhD in Sociology from the University of California, Santa Barbara. So where is the PhD in the history of religions? He doesn't have one. And what I do for a living, he says, I'm a historian. Where is his PhD in history? He has a BA in religion. He has a Master of Theological Studies. He has a Master in Fine Arts in Fiction. That's important to remember. And then he has his only PhD in sociology. There's no history here. He's not a historian. At least what he's trying to say, I believe I'm a historian. I study history. That's what I do. I study history. But do you think anybody in the media is going to give me a pass if I get on and say I'm a historian?
No.
Not a chance.
And really, you do it for a living.
Right.
Well.
Unless you pass through their hallowed gates, you are no historian to them. There's no one in the media that would give anyone like me a pass on that. So I'm just trying to hold them to their same standard. Next time I'm on MSNBC, which will be never, but next time I'm on anything like that, I'm going to insist and see what they say. I'm going to insist that they say that I am a historian and see if they give me this pass. They won't. I'm a historian. Let me be clear. I'm a historian, and this is what I do for a living. Well, the problem is he's not a historian, at least according to his credentials. He does not have a PhD in the history of religions. He has a PhD in sociology. And what he does for a living? He teaches creative writing. That's what he does. He teaches creative writing. Now, I'm going to get into some of the stuff that he says in the book tonight that you need to know, because this is not just him being a liar about who he is, but then him being completely making academic mistakes that anybody who's ever read the Bible wouldn't make. Just wouldn't make. We'll point those out. But then I'm going to show you where he gets his funding, and you'll never guess the connections. You'll just never guess. This is a rewriting of our history. This is a shedding of our traditions and our beliefs and our history. That sounds familiar, and the press is doing it. And most of America is going gleefully down that road. Why? Because nobody's pointing it out. And even when we point it out, The rest of the media is not going to pick up on this stuff. The rest of the media is not going to make a big deal out of it. So just like gas, you'll just take it. Don't be one of the sheep. Be informed. Tonight on The Blaze at 5 o'clock. The Blaze TV at theblaze.com, or call your cable operator and ask them, why aren't you carrying The Blaze?